Hello and welcome. For this video, we've come to our local Changan dealership to give you a look at a car that we've been looking forward to for some time, the UNI-V. This car, at least on paper, is a direct competitor with the GIC M-POW that we recently drove on the channel. In other words, an affordable sports sedan for the masses. Can it actually compete with the M-POW? Well, today we're at least going to get a chance to look at the exterior and interior design, and in future we'll be bringing you a full video including a test drive. For now, let's get started. With hands-on test drives and reviews of exciting Chinese market vehicles, Wheelsboy is the #1 source for China auto insights. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. We won't be going into too much details, this being a first take video, but I will say that this obviously has the signature front grille of the UNI brand, one that I think that they're continuing to use in a really great way. It has a lot of road presence without having the giant gaping mouth of some of the other cars you see on the road. I also very much like this lower carbon fiber look. Spoiler, gives the car a very sporty look, but it still has a little bit more of a mature presence, I think, than the GAC M-POW. The side of the UNI-V has a strong belt line here below the greenhouse, which goes into this to meet the sloping rear roofline. Very reminiscent of the Audi A7, in my opinion. Also reminiscent of Audi is these rear taillights. This flowing design that goes all the way across the rear end, one that I think is very, very handsome. Down below, we have Uni's signature kind of over-the-top diffuser, still not as big as the one on the Uni-T, interestingly, and then these very nice stainless steel exhaust outlets. Of course, one important thing to note, and I think a real advantage over the GAC M-POW, is the fact that this is a slopeback. This is a true hatchback, as you can see. That's going to pay dividends when it comes to rear cargo space. You might be thinking to yourself, hey, the GIC M-POW had a pretty big wing on the rear end. How come this thing doesn't? Well, it actually does. It's actually an electrically operated one that you can deploy using a button on the interior. Here on the inside, we have an interior styling language that's going to look familiar if you've ever seen our reviews of the UNI-K and UNI-T. Now, generally, that's a good thing. I really like the high-tech feel of the interiors that Uni is doing these days. That means we have 4 screens. We have 2 small ones here that flank the instrument cluster screen as well as the large main center screen. Now the UI, I haven't had much of time with it, but it's good so far and it looks pretty smooth. There are, however, some downsides to adopting the styling of these other cars, and that includes, well, this steering wheel, this oval-shaped steering wheel. It certainly looks cool, but in the brief time that I spent behind the wheel of the Uni-K, I didn't find it very easy to use. It's not as stupid as a Tesla yoke or anything, but it's just not as easy to use as a round steering wheel. We also, of course, have a pretty cool orange button that says Super Race. Now, what happens when you hit this Super Race button? Well, I don't really know because I haven't driven the car and I won't get the chance to do so for a couple of months yet at least. But once we do a driving part of the video, well, we're all going to find out together. You don't have to drive the car to know that this back seat has a very decent amount of space. I would say slightly more than the Guangqi M-POW, the GAC M-POW that we previously reviewed. Headspace, though, probably about the same. There are some interesting styling details, including this design of the rear seat here, very sporting with an integrated hook. Quite clever. You also, of course, have a USB, but a single USB. Not particularly surprising at this price point, which is about $17,000 to around $21,000 US dollars. Of course, we have our fold-down armrest with cup holders. Of course, if you're going to talk about affordable sports sedans and compare them, you have to know what's under the hood. At first, these cars are very comparable. You have a 1.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, but the numbers, well, the numbers don't lie. At least on paper, this is more powerful than the GAC M-POW, specifically 138 kilowatts and 300 newton meters of torque. That's around 188 horsepower and 222 pound-feet. Like I said, both numbers higher than the GAC M-POW. Backing up that engine is a 7-speed DCT. We are very much looking forward to giving this car a test drive, but this being so early in the production, that's not going to happen. Not quite yet. That's all for today's first take on this, the Changan UNI-V. We're of course looking forward to doing a longer video with a test drive and more in-depth look at the interior when we can spend more time with the car. Thanks very much for watching. Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook, links in the description below. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit the bell.